For Marcus Rashford, he's sitting there saying, well, we don't vibe. I don't like the way that you've come in and you've said this is the system and this is what you want from me. Whatever it is, we're not working well together. We saw what happened with Jadon Sancho. He left greener pastures, killed it at Dortmund, which then resulted in him going to Chelsea and finding a good spot for him. I think Marcus Rashford, we've said this for a while now. It's time for him to move. I think it'll be good for him. It'll be good for the club. It just feels like they're at a standstill right now. They're both, I think Ruben Amorim's come in. He said, this is my system. I'm stubborn about it. I'm not changing it, even if I don't have the players to do it. This is how we're going to handle it. And this is the expectations to get into my team. Marcus Rashford's sitting here saying, hey, I've done it for this club. I've played for this club. This is how I do things. Give me the opportunity to play. And obviously, they're both not bending. Mm-hmm. And
Jimmy, you disagree?
I think you got to go. I think he needs to move.
I slightly disagree with Chuck
with
here.
What?
With this is not a system thing. This is standards. Mm-hmm. He wants certain standards.
Who's he?
Ruben Amorim.
Okay.
But
you
I know you say it's not a system, but where does Marcus Rashford fit in the system? There's only one spot for him, and that's at the 9. He's openly talked about
totally
not wanting to play that.
I don't think Ruben Amorim is even thinking about him in the 11 at the moment if he's not going to come to practice and play the way that he wants, and it just approaches it. He made mention, which I think funny when a coach is like, I'm not happy with the way he leads his life, ultimately. I'm paraphrasing here. Mm-hmm. Well, you're not his dad. He can kind of do whatever he wants, but if he shows up and does the work every day and approaches it every single day.
We've heard of other managers, including Sir Alex Ferguson. The rumors were that he wanted you to have a significant other and be in a committed relationship so that you were less likely to go out and go crazy. Not that changes anything.
Let me throw this at you because we've both been in the trenches. Once you get to a certain age and that you've proven and that you've shown your ability, practice can be handled in a certain way where you don't necessarily have to be an 18-year-old, 19-year-old and work like they do in practice.
So maybe he hasn't
you're giving the
proven
benefit of the
himself
doubt. Yeah, but
So
from Marcus Rashford's standpoint, I'm talking about the player, I don't have to train like the 18-year-old. I don't have to stay and do this and X, Y, Z to get into the team, especially when Haaland is not delivering.
Right.
Right? If the guys who play my position aren't performing, guess what? I deserve that chance, and he's not being given that chance.
Hold on, if your manager's asking you specifically and told everyone, I'm gonna start you based on the way you train, and you still don't live up to that standard in training, aren't you in a way kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face?
Yes, but there's some players who train well and some players who don't train well, and he might not be saying, okay, the effort isn't 100%. Maybe it's just he's not training well. Plus,
that seems like a BS excuse.
It sounds like an effort.
At the end of the day, look at who's playing, and they're not playing well.
Do you, as a player, and I know you played in college, should you give a damn what your coach thinks about how you live your life?
No, I don't think so. Because I think if you're giving effort and you're showing up every day, whatever else happens outside the lines, it's kind of on them. If it comes in and it's now affecting everyday life, right? If you're a player and you're sleeping with all your other players' wives, that's going to affect things on the pitch.
Yeah, that might be a big one.
Probably shouldn't be doing that one.
Lisa just took like 5-6 steps. Yeah.
But honestly,
John Terry just got a shiver.
As long as you're performing, giving effort, trying, looking to see how your teammates do and set them up for success, I think that's a different factor, right? If there's a work ethic thing that it comes down to, that's a different issue.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. If there are things that you're doing off the field that's impacting what you're doing on the field or even at training, then yes, I think you can have a conversation about how you're leading your life. But
you're going to tell me
it's like it's a slippery slope.
But you're going to tell me all of a sudden, for as long as Marcus Rashford's been there, now the coach is telling the media, the world, that he doesn't train hard.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have heard
Charlie,
that
I'm
for the
floored.
past.
Charlie, I'm floored because I have a feeling that if your kids were on a team and their coach said they weren't training hard enough, this wouldn't be the tact you'd be taking.
What I'm telling you is, all of a sudden, he's not training hard?
I think that's been the rub against him for a while.
No, it's never been out in the press that Marcus Rashford doesn't train hard, doesn't give effort.
Part of the issue, though, with Ten Hag was that he was allowing that to flourish. You didn't have to train hard, you could still start. That can be a poison. I'm not saying that that's what he's doing, but just speculating. So another thing to take into consideration is the influence of Marcus Rashford. Because if you're holding him to a certain standard then everybody else needs to follow suit. But if Marcus is like, again, speculating, if or any of your players are not, and they're leaders, and they're the ones that are kind of gatekeepers of what's cool and what's not at your club. We've been around it, right? You've been a part of different teams. There's always somebody that's kind of driving.
He's not bought in. That's what it comes down to.
Well, of course.
Marcus Rashford isn't bought in.
You're saying he's like the leader of the vibes and he might bring in bad vibes.
Potentially, yeah, but if he's not...
I don't know about that because
so what if you're the teammate, though? What if you're the teammate that's in practice every day and you're seeing whether he is working hard or he's not giving effort? Are you intervening? Are you having a conversation privately or publicly with either Rashford or maybe the media to say, actually, he is working really hard? How would you approach that as a teammate?
Well, one, you're kind of in a predicament because if you go against the coach, that means your playing time's gone or you're getting rid of in the summer. So you have to take care of your own self. You have to take care of your family. You're not going to go out in the press and go, oh, I'm actually going to stoke the flames and say, actually, Marcus Rashford's delivering. When clearly it seems like he's not bought into the system. He's not bought into what Ruben Amorim wants of him.
But, Jeff, you were listening to our conversation about Marcus Rashford. I want you to weigh in a little bit. What are your thoughts on what Ruben Amorim said and where Marcus Rashford sits right now?
I think all three of you were right, or all four of you were right in some ways, because it was quite funny because when he walked into the press conference, it only lasted 8 minutes at Fulham. He walked in, he said, I come in here and I say something to you guys and I regret it. And that was the very last thing he said in the press conference. So he was asked specifically about Rashford, and then he repeated the quote, he wants players, he will only include players that do what he wants in training, the way they behave, the way they conduct themselves, all of those things. But then he doubled down when he said, and it wasn't just the goalkeeper part, he'd rather pick his 63-year-old goalkeeping coach. He actually said, we could have used somebody, because before it was generic about how every player, he always says, every player must bring the minimum. This is the absolute minimum that I expect. He doubled down on Rashford by saying, we could have done with somebody in those forward areas today where they had pace, but I would rather pick my 63-year-old goalkeeper coach. In fact, he said Vital, at which point all the press lads were scratching their head. Vital, who is Vital? And then they worked out exactly who he was talking about. So he is not budging from his principles whatsoever. I think it's what we don't know. It's what we don't know that is the problem. How often he speaks to Mark.